Okay, everybody, here we are almost at the end. In this video, we're going to talk about some other frequently asked questions. And I think the biggest one is, can I do this with a child that has, special needs? Now, I don't have a whole lot of experience on this, although I have seen many threads and looked them up on the group. But I do have a child that goes to speech therapy once a week and diagnosed with other things like dyslexia, and I think the other one's dyscalculia. I honestly don't pay too much attention to the labels. I just see where there is a need for more and what is the best, most efficient, and best for the child, best for the family way to solve that problem. So back to the question, can you do RC with a child that has special needs? And my answer is yes, absolutely yes. I think this is the best program to use when you have those types of issues at home. And the reason is because everybody is going at their own speed. There is nothing that is making me feel rushed or worried that they're not where they're supposed to be, because they are where they're supposed to be. That's where they're at right now, and we're working on improving little by little with consistency every single day. Now, I will say right here that I don't think it's a good idea to take summers off. I've learned that lesson myself. When you have someone that has kind of special needs like this, and you go a long period of time, weeks, months, without doing any kind of formal schooling, just kind of being really relaxed about it, then when they start back up, you might find that they've lost a lot. They might have not retained all that investment that you put in them the previous year. So I recommend, just like the Robinson curriculum says, 6 days a week, or as close to 6 days a week as possible, and no summers off. Trying not to take more than a couple weeks off. Now, obviously, if you have a baby, that's understandable. But in general, there's really no need to take summers off when you do school this way, because it's not overbearing. It's not really stressful on mom. So if you just work consistently, then of course it's going to work. They're going to improve, and they're not being measured against anybody else. They're going at their own speed. You can take your time with them, learning their math facts. That's really important. Don't rush that. And then as they start 5-4, again, let them just go at their own pace. If it takes them a year to do 5-4, great. If it takes them 2 years to do 5-4, great. The important thing is that they're progressing and they're learning, they're getting better, they're moving on. And same thing for the reading list. If it takes them a month to get through a book, where another child, it's taking them a week or 2 weeks, that's okay. So can you do RC with special needs? Yes, of course. It's a great program for that, because they're just working at their own speed, and you're helping them in the beginning stages to get really firm on reading, writing, and their math. If they just need to do copy work for longer than some of your other children, then that's fine. Let them copy a page of copy work. If it takes them a little bit longer than 1 hour, but they're fine, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Now, something that I have seen discussed is with maybe older children, early teens, that they still have a hard time, maybe with dyslexia, they're not really reading well. Some parents will just let them do audiobooks. And I do love audiobooks. I talk about them all the time. I post them on my Facebook wall all the time. I think there's a time and a place for them, especially car rides. I mean, without audiobooks, our car rides would be a lot more chaotic. However, I don't think that's the way out here. I don't think that's a good Band-Aid. It's better if you just take your time to teach them how to read. Get a good phonics program. Even if they're 14, 15, and you need to go back to Alpha Phonics, go back to Alpha Phonics. Help them establish that foundation. That's going to help them in the long term, versus just letting them do audiobooks or letting them just have these kind of little coping mechanisms to get through, because you just want to maybe get them through and graduate them. I know. But take a pause, take a break, go back and help them learn how to read. And again, I don't have a lot of advice with that right now. This is just some great advice that I've heard and I agree with. And I think it's the best long-term solution. The goal is not for you to successfully graduate your children. The goal is for you to prepare them for life, to be lifelong learners. Same thing with the writing. I think they need to be writing down their essays or their copy work, not typing it up on the computer with spell check. So yes, be very loving and going at their own speed, but be consistent and also try to stick to the guidelines as much as possible. And remember that they also rise up to your level of expectation. And you know your children best, you know what they're capable of. And even if you just push on the gas a little bit more, and then you need to tap on the brakes and just kind of see how much they can truly handle, you might be surprised really what they're capable of. So I think this is a great curriculum to do that in. Okay, one other frequently asked question that I wanted to cover is some parents wonder, what about character study? What about the Bible? Now, Dr. Robinson thought he developed something pretty good here for homeschooling. That's why he created this curriculum, but he didn't feel like he really had any authority to tell you how to teach the faith to your children. So that's really something that you're on your own. If you read the course outline, I thought it was very sweet that he mentioned that all the children, him and all the children, they would read the Bible together every night. Now, and I understand why at night, because in the morning, people have chores, things are busy, you're getting going. The kids, they want to start Saxon right away. They want to get it over with. And that's why it's really important to do math first. Very important to do math first, because that is using one part of your brain, very different from all the other subjects. And so just, if you've heard that talk, it's very important. First thing a child does is get the hardest part out the way when they're fresh, early in the morning, and then the rest of the day is entirely different. So math first. And so my children do kind of want to do math first and get started on it. So I understand why they would do their Bible reading at night before bed. And it was to the point where even when the children grew up and they got older and they would travel somewhere, they'd phone in and call on speakerphone and still read the Bible together every night, even if somebody was traveling. So I thought that was really sweet. It can be as simple as that, just reading the Bible together, maybe doing some Bible memorization together. I did a video on Bible Quest. I talked about this a lot on my channel. We like to use the one-year Bible. I have a one-year Bible, and then all of my children do. And I got this tip from my pastor's wife. The first year, maybe they just read the Proverbs portion. The next year, Psalms and Proverbs. The next year, New Testament, Psalms and Proverbs, until they get to the whole daily scripture portion. Old Testament, New Testament, Psalm and Proverb, and they can check it off and keep track of it every day. So that's something they could do independently, or again, you can do it together. You can read the Bible together. It's really up to you. I also have this book that I always highly recommend, and it's called For Instruction in Righteousness. And I love this book, and I have a video on it. I will link it below, because it just kind of gives you a lot of character qualities and deficiencies, and there's just Bible stories, tons of Bible stories on showing you what it looks like, showing you the opposite trait, some Bible verses on the consequences of those, or the blessings, depending on which way you're going at it, positive, if it's a good quality or a bad quality, and some scripture to memorize. It even has maybe some suggested ways to implement it in your house. I love that book. And so if I see something going on in our house where we really need to talk about this quality, then I just bring that book out, we get together, we talk about it, we go through some of the stories. I'll pick a Bible verse to memorize, and we'll talk about the consequences and the blessings. And so that's my way of doing it, using a book like that. There's another book for little kids that I like, kind of like an ABC book I've had for years. We also have church services 3 times a week, and the children sit with us. It's family integrated, so they get a lot of Bible. We talk about it afterwards. Sometimes the Monday after the Sunday services, they will do their essay based off of one of the sermons that they heard. Maybe it just was something that really stuck in their head and they want to talk about it, and they'll write an essay on it. So that's something that you can do. And I've seen this online where some parents feel like they're just completely removed from their children's education and discipleship, where they just feel maybe like a taskmaster. They're just keeping them on the schedule. They're not really involved in the school day to day. Maybe they're all older, so they're not really involved, or they feel like they can't really be involved, and they don't like that. Obviously, I understand that. You obviously want to nurture and teach your children and form those connections and those bonds. So how do you do it while still maintaining this self-instructional homeschooling method? And there are many ways to do that. Like I mentioned, have a Bible time together, have a character study time together. My favorite way to do this also is to read out loud to them. even to older children that are reading independently on their own. I think it's so important, and if you read the studies on this, to read out loud to your children. I have a list of books that I love on this topic that I will link below. And that really forms connections, comfort, just kind of ties those heartstrings. You're building memories around these books. It's just such a great way to have those connections during the day, reading out loud to them. So that's another way. And I think it's important that you just schedule fun outings, fun activities, go to a museum. I like this idea of just because we can day, cancel school and go to a museum or go to a park and fly kites. Just because you can day. Those are always a lot of fun. I talked about setting up an art show and a science fair at a library, at a local library, and involving all our friends and helping them with art projects and helping them with science experiments. So you can very much be involved in your children's lives while they're doing a self-instructional method. The goal of this homeschooling method is that it frees mom up. It relieves her of all that stress and will have the energy to do all these other fun things. It's just a different approach than making sure you're checking off all the boxes before summer break. This way, you know they're getting the basics, and then you can add in whatever is important to you and your family. There's still plenty of ways that you can teach your child during the day. For example, in the kitchen, showing them how to cook something or showing them how to sew a doll or whatever that may be. All right, so that is it for this frequently asked questions video. I hope I covered it all. If I didn't, please leave your question in the comments below. And the next video, we're gonna talk about just kind of a rundown of a typical school day.